Say Toast, episode 4.
Episode 4. And
They thought it was 3 earlier, guys. Apparently we're on 4.
we're further ahead than we thought.
That is right.
Well, today we are just having a very special, what are these? Sparkling drinks. We're laying off the alcohol for just a little bit, taking care of ourselves, which is what we're talking about today, self-care. So I talked to Emily last night and I was like, we got to do self-care for Toast because we're going to be honest. We're the type of people that will run ourselves completely ragged, beyond belief. And the fact that you partner with someone like that, and this, I was talking to my sister about this, it's like you almost, they call them like trauma bonds. It's like you don't even know you're doing it, but you're like fueling each other and you just go. And the other person's going so hard for so long.
She'll text me, it's like midnight. And then I'll text her, and then one day we were like 2 a.m. We were doing manuals and looking at muscles and how do they move and sending pictures, and it can get like that. And we're just strange beings in general, but we definitely want to talk about it because actually May is Mental Health Awareness Month,
which is perfect.
So it's such a big deal to take care of yourself.
Well, and it's funny. Once your mental health goes, it's like everything's gone. So it's like, we talked about this. We push our bodies. We personally push our bodies to the ultimate limit. I watch my boyfriend do it. You watch your husband do it. Your family do it. And it's like, why do we wait until something's so completely broken that it takes like this life shattering or like your shoulder completely locking up on you or your hip or like me.
Trying to die.
She
tried to die last week. We'll spare the details. But...
we will spare you the details because I'll give them.
I mean, it's up to you, but basically we get to the point where we go until our body says, hey guys, we're not doing this anymore. And it kind of knocks you on your ass and you have to sit down.
And then you're not good for anybody or anything. Like, let's talk about, you did your opening. Well, first you moved, you did your opening, had your first litter, second litter's coming. Yeah. Like, it's been like, go.
Litter of puppies, guys.
And then I had a, like, literal health crisis in the middle of it, which was stressful for you. Because, of course, I'm like,
I'm dying.
That was real. So, anyways, we want to talk about that. Emily did some really interesting research just on different things and different pillars of mental health and different pillars of taking care of yourself. So we just want to encourage you guys to take notes from people like us who will go completely to zero and beyond before, we wake up and start taking care of ourselves. So that's one of our goals is to take care of ourselves, care of ourselves, and then motivate each other towards self-care things. Yeah, because when and I don't know if you feel this way, but like when you're working, I feel like I should be working.
I do feel like that. So if I'm resting, and this, you guys might feel this way too. Like if you're not doing something, but say somebody comes and they start cleaning the house, you feel like you should get up
and clean the house.
Or if you don't, there might be something wrong with you. But like you feel like I must be, I should be doing it too because they're doing it. Or like if I send her something, then she's like, oh shoot, let me get on that. Or your stupid apologies. She always apologizes. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you apologizing?
And we both have so you not only run every service here, but you run the business. And then I help you with marketing here. And then I run my real estate business. So essentially we both have 2 full-time jobs. So there's no reason to apologize, but whatever fuels us, it's like guilt. And then this like need to go. Like if you're not busy, you're not working. And that's not true because probably now since I've taken all that downtime, I've uncovered like 2 or 3 things in the business that I haven't been able to accomplish. How annoying.
I know, right?
How annoying.
So even if you guys aren't like entrepreneurs or business owners, this applies to anybody. You could be a student, you could be a stay-at-home mom, you could be like all of these things. Every single person in the world has to take time to care for themselves, because if you're not caring for yourself, you can't care for those around you, and you're not going to be worth anything as far as like encouraging good instincts and stuff in the other people around you if you're so exhausted. And it gets to that point. I was calling Cassie like last week, the week before, like I'm so tired. I literally went to Menards with my brother. So my brother's starting up his own like handyman business where he does remodeling and stuff, and he's starting a job in our basement. And we went to Menards, and he's like, yeah, we need to get this, we need to do that. And all I could think about, and I know this sounds crazy, is I'm going to sit down on the floor. And I just kept thinking that. I just need to sit down. I literally envisioned myself curling up and laying down on the aisle floor at Menards because I was so tired.
That's just burnout, though. It's like it's beyond your mental capacity anymore. And that's what we were talking about. Like when you get to that point, it's no longer a choice.
Mm-mm.
Your body is like, I'm done. Like I'm sitting on the floor.
Can you
And David's
imagine?
going to be like,
What's
I don't
wrong
know
with
what
you?
she's doing.
He asked me, he was like, why are you so quiet? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm tired.
But
tired.
that's how we both respond with that
Mhm.
fatigue. It's just like when I was sick, she was like, are you okay? You haven't
Mhm.
said anything, but you're just like so zoned out. And when I noticed, because I had to go to the hospital.
I forced her. She did not want to go, but listen.
Well, so I won't get into that, but you know how I feel about the medical. But I feel like even in our culture, they basically told me at the ER, like, when you pass out or it gets worse, come back. And I'm like, it was already that bad to wherever. So even our culture says it's got to go to the most extreme before you start listening to your body.
Mhm.
And like instinctually, I knew A, B, and C was wrong. Like, this is not right. This has never happened before. Like, I'm feeling really bad. Just like you probably get markers along the way that say, ooh, I need to rest way before you sit down in Menards.
Mhm.
But we ignore it because we're trained to ignore it because it's that hashtag hustle.
Yeah.
Hashtag like go hard or go home. But sometimes the hardest thing for people like us to do is to relax
Mhm.
and sit and be. So that's what I wanted to encourage. Like she said, everybody to not feel guilt over self-care, because that's my main like reason why I get up and do stuff like, oh, I feel guilty,
Mhm.
or like I maybe they're not gonna think I'm a hard ass anymore and like
Yeah.
hardcore. But you know who like is really good at self-care is Mark. Like he will not do anything after 7:00. Like it's his
Mm.
time. Like anything like work related,
Work related.
he will cut it off.
Debrief, rest.
Right? Like he wants to
chill.
do his boats, his walks, and whatever. And I'm like, that's a really good mindset to be around,
Mhm.
because those people who can disconnect like that, I envy them,
Mhm.
because it's a struggle.
Me
It's a
too.
struggle.
So that's kind of why we wanted to talk about this today, because we're going to make a goal for
Mhm.
ourselves to get better at this, at least taking time for us to focus on our family, or just sitting down and watching maybe a TV show that
Right.
I don't watch TV, but it's because I don't have time.
Right.
And if I have a show on, guess what? My computer's in my lap, and I got to do this ad, or how do I write this, or
Mhm.
what service do I update for the? So we need to start doing that. And for you guys who are watching, we wanted to talk about the different levels of self-care. I did a little bit of research today just to talk about it with you guys, and one of them is called, there's 7 pillars of self-care basically, and it branches into your mental health, your emotional, your physical, environmental, spiritual, recreational, and then the last one is your social. So these are all parts of your self-care, and in every pillar you should be doing something to help make sure that you're basically giving yourself the best benefit
Mhm.
and taking care of yourself all around, not just one part, but in all of those aspects.
Mhm.
So what do you think about those?
Well, so I went and saw a functional medicine doctor, because quite honestly, I was just sick of being told like, go home, and if it doesn't stop, come back. So I found that doctor, and they got me an ASAP too, which was really cool.
Mhm.
But the way they approached health was so much different. So when I went back for my follow-up, we were going over my labs, and for all intents and purposes, I look like a really healthy human being, right?
Mhm.
Like she was like, I don't even see kidney function this high in my kids.
Mhm.
But the one thing she said was my cortisol levels were really, really low for the time of the day. They should have been responding much higher to stress, which means just after a while, your body stops responding to it because you don't let the stress stop. There was no medicine to correct that, but I found it so interesting. She said at that point, you literally have to rewire your nervous system. It like retrain. It's like going to the gym. You have to retrain your nervous system to relax in heightened situations,
Mhm.
or not, because your body starts thinking everything's a stress response to where you deplete that cortisol
So
response.
it like desensitizes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So that's why like it's midday and I'm feeling stressed out because someone emailed me like, oh, this email. Like, why should I feel that like enraged
Right.
by an email? Like that's absurd.
Because you're already overflowing.
You are. So it's like normal everyday interaction feels just like
Mhm.
constantly.
Mhm.
So what she had said, she said, this is going to sound insane. And she's like, most people don't believe it's going to help. But she said, you literally start with 5 minutes of decompression, alone time, off your tablets, off your
Mhm.
phones. And she's like, and that starts to reprogram your nervous system while you're breathing to say it's okay to relax. And she said, you literally have to start with 5 minutes
Yeah.
because you're literally not trained to do more.
Mhm.
Like people who can meditate for hours, that's a skill set.
Yeah,
like
that's huge.
they train for their lives.
Mhm.
Like monks, man, like they can be in meditation, I think, for weeks,
Yeah.
and fasting and all those things. So and then of course we got into the nutrition. And this is something, you and I love natural health. We love healthy food. We love that's why we're so intentional about what goes into our bodies here at Elevate, right?
Yeah, and the products we offer.
Yeah, exactly. So everything that goes in, But then we catch ourselves drinking more pop or just like slamming coffees. Not that coffee's bad necessarily, but like can't
Too
live on
much,
it.
yeah.
Can't live on it.
Yeah.
And so like I've gone which is why again we switched to a sparkling drink today. But I've gone 2 weeks now eating almost no gluten and no dairy and not eating fast food. And I will tell you, like, I feel like a different person in 2 weeks. So I think one thing in that list that's missing is like your nutritional self-care.
Yeah, it's under your physical.
Oh, it had a pillar, but I think it should be its own pillar.
It should be its own. Diet is huge. It really is huge. And I even noticed, because I told Cassie, like I was just saying, I was so exhausted and I was like, I'm so tired. And then it just clicked. I don't drink like soft drinks often. I used to, like years ago before I moved where I live now, before I met my husband, I used to, because that was how I survived.
Right.
I was a single mom. I was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. I was finishing nursing school. I was just boom, boom, boom. I never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So my body craved that sugar and that caffeine to just keep survival mode, really. So when I came down here, I quit drinking. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't like it all the time. And what I can tell you is I had all of this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really good for like a good solid 2-3 weeks, just so much energy. And I still felt better. But the last couple of weeks since the open house or the grand opening, we had soft drinks here. So I'm just going to drink a Coke.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I just felt so exhausted.
Right.
And then it clicked. I'm like, I've been drinking pop or soda, for those who call it soda, like one a day, every day lately. And I was drinking none.
Yeah.
So it does make a huge difference.
Well, and that's that caffeine spike. That's that sugar spike. Like it's a combination of nutritional. So my dad, he was on an airplane. My dad travels a lot for work. My dad is a hoot. Emily loves him.
I do. Hey, Ed.
As Mark calls him, the Edster or Big Ed. So he was on a plane and he saw this study about caffeine and sleep. So apparently, and I can't remember it because I'm the queen of not remembering certain things, but apparently there is a chemical that we build up that then tells us it's time to sleep, and you literally sleep this chemical off in our brains. And caffeine will literally not allow you to build it up, and it'll push the storage out. So my dad has become like a firm, like caffeine is actually disrupting our sleep patterns and our rhythm and our ability to think. Like literally our like you're more prone to having Alzheimer's or dementia or like, degrading brain diseases because of how we consume caffeine, and our brains can't actually go into like real healthy sleep cycles, which again goes back to your nutritional. That even goes back to just like making sure you're resting and all those different things. But we're doing things that inhibit our ability when we're trying to be there. We're trying, like you're so tired, but you're still stimulated. That's the worst, in my opinion.
It's the worst.
The worst place to be.
You don't rest.
How can I be this tired and still be stimulated? I know. Like how many times have we said that? Like I was up basically all night.
You feel so exhausted, and I do this all the time. So I'm no better. I'm sure I was diagnostically or in the white coat, I would be diagnosed with ADHD. Oh, I was never treated, but because when I lay down, my brain does not shut off. I'm just laying there. I wonder what giraffes are doing in Africa right now. Like that's the stuff that you think about. You don't just, it's stupid stuff. Right. It's like stuff that you're not going to do anything with the information, but your brain is like, you need to think about this right now. Right. And I do that often. And then I'll wake up like in the middle of the night and I'll start the same thing, start thinking about stuff. And then it takes another 2 hours to fall asleep. So that sleep cycle is huge. And I don't even do caffeine like the way I drink coffee. So, but, it's more just the all around. When you're not addressing every part of your self-care, right? There's pieces that are missing, and then it's like a whole puzzle, basically. Right, and that social component. So Morgan, my little sister, she's I talk about my family so much. I'm just like, this is a crazy lady. So she's in what do you call that? Flight school. Flight school. Thank you. In Atlanta, Georgia. And it's an incredibly rigorous program. And so one of the worst parts for her right now is she's constantly around people. And because you're constantly around people, there is this, I guess, pressure to do things with other people. And like that social pressure. Yeah, that social pressure. So even like disconnecting from like, okay, even if I see the message come in from Emily, which I don't want to ignore her stuff, but I've got to be able to say like, it's okay not to answer that right away. Right away. Or the messages we get from our friends. And like, we're in this habit of thinking like, I know you were on your phone. Like, who cares if I'm on my phone? I could be reading a book on my phone. I could be reading a study that we're looking into, but that doesn't mean that I am forced
to communicate with somebody, because we are on
Right.
communicating with people all the time, which to me is like not a healthy social interaction.
It's really not. Talk about the ding thing you were talking about.
The ding thing.
When your phone dings.
Oh,
your
like we're
response.
like Pavlov's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're literally programmed like dogs to like check, like if that ding goes off, you can't help yourself.
Instantly, yeah.
Whatever concentration you had, it's completely broken. I like, how was it? I was doing those calendars earlier, and like every time something happened, it's like
Yeah.
we become so scattered and
yeah.
conditioned to just be completely, what do you call that? Like distracted.
Mm-hmm.
We're conditioned to be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And so even like turning the ding off,
Mm-hmm.
I actually started like putting do not disturb on, where you can't even get the thing on your screen. So that way, if you're reading or doing something,
Yeah.
it can't even pop up and distract you.
Yeah.
Because like, how do you get through anything?
You can't, and it becomes like this, like you said, this expectation. So for you clients that like to message me at 3 a.m., you know who you are.
And that's fine.
It happens, and I get it if like maybe you work night shift
Mhm.
and that's the time you can send the message. Don't be upset if I don't respond right away, because I have unfortunately had that where people
Yeah.
are like, I messaged you, and it's like it's 3 a.m.
Right.
guys.
Well, and that's just another facet of the business. Like we're trying to get to everything while giving the people who've booked for that day
Mhm.
the ultimate attention possible.
Mhm.
But it's this instant, like, oh, I sent a message and they didn't respond. Like, remember in the olden days, like you left the office.
Send a letter.
Yeah, you had to send a letter, or like you had to, you know what I mean? Like they couldn't follow you.
Yeah.
Like that.
Maybe
Real
we should
estate agents of the day had it going on. Like I'll tell you what, man. My phone dings as much as Emily's does, but like you used to be able to leave work at work.
Yeah.
And you can't. It goes everywhere with you. And then you have friends and family and expectations, and it's like after a while, there's so much need for your energy. You literally are just bleeding
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
energy. Like I got like an energetic hole in my body somewhere. I mean, it's like, and then the other thing is like for people who are never around people, to get in community with people, because there is an energy that you get when you interact. So it goes on both sides of the coin, and just being balanced about it.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to protect your space.
Oh yeah.
So the social aspect, you need to be able to have face-to-face time with your friends and family and loved ones.
Mhm.
That's important. You also need to be able to nurture those relationships. So I suck at that right now
Mhm.
because I work all the time. That's another goal of mine, is to be able to pull back a little bit for my own family time, and maybe shorten my day. Instead of being here till 9 o'clock, maybe I'm only here till 5.
Yeah, right.
Like a normal
Something
person.
reasonable.
But just know that those things are important. Some of the other physical things besides the dieting we're talking about, we're not talking about don't eat. We're just talking about eat healthier and choose better things that's going to help to
Feed your brain, feed your
Exactly.
body. Yeah.
make it to where you can function.
And you know what I've heard? Instead of trying to take, I mean, cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Instead of trying to think like, oh, I'm taking all these things out of my diet, I've actually heard just adding healthy things in
Mm-hmm.
is more beneficial and more long-term sustaining
Yeah.
than trying to like do these, like that person I told you about who did this like crash diet. It was like 900 calories. She was eating like freeze-dried food.
Mhm.
Like she lost weight, but I don't know that her health was any better.
It
And it's
wasn't
not sustainable.
sustainable.
Yes.
That's what it was. So when you take away all of these things, you're constantly, I can't have it, I can't have it, I can't, and then you want it.
Yeah. It's like
So,
you're programming your
yeah.
body to be without all the
Exactly.
nutritional things, which is why we give things away like the greens last
Mhm.
month and the early bird, just little things you can add to your day that
Mhm.
we found to be effective. I mean, I know Marlon loves the greens. I love the greens. I got to try Marlon's greens. They're so much.
I don't like the greens.
She don't.
But
But
I will do some vegetables here.
yeah,
and
but
there.
you cook from like, but you made sure to sign up for those cooking packages so you could go
Mhm.
home and have the meals, and they always look great. Potatoes,
They're
carrots,
good.
whatever it is, you know.
I tried HelloFresh before, guys, but I didn't really. I mean, the food was good, but it kind of became repetitive. But now I'm using the Home Chef, and I actually really like it.
Is that expensive?
I did 3 days a week for 6 people, so 6 servings 3 times a week, and it was $147.
That's not really
It's
that
not
bad.
bad. If I would go to the grocery store, I'd spend way more.
And usually it goes bad because you didn't buy all the right things to do that.
Mhm.
But anyways, those are some ideas that we're
Yeah.
implementing.
So another thing with the physical aspect is your sleep cycle. That might mean turning that ding off and stepping back and being able to rest at least an hour before you
Yeah.
actually get in the bed, because you're still stimulated. We suck at this.
We're talking to us right now. This video is for us to
Right.
play in the lobby later on.
But to be able to just detach and just sit there, drink some tea, or whatever you like to do at night.
Heaven forbid you get down and stretch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, what's funny is I told Mark for like a week, I'm like, I'm gonna stretch tonight. And I'm like, I literally told him to remind me to stretch, and we forgot, and I never did it. And I'm like, that's how far away we are from being connected with our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And the further I found that we get away from caring for ourselves, the easier it is to neglect yourself. It becomes easier over time just to think, oh, remember how I said this? Like, we think we're entitled to this vessel that's been given to us by God or your creator, your universe, wherever you believe this vessel came from. We believe we're entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're entitled to go and cram whatever food and, you know, negative content or whatever into us. And we're just supposed to perform. And the second we don't, we're like, oh, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Why isn't it working?
But we're not entitled to this vessel. We're not entitled. It's not given to you good health. Just like prosperity is not just given to you. You have to work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So your health is also something you have to work towards.
And then for your mental, it's important to stay mentally stimulated. So if you're finding yourself bored or lack of motivation or just feeling like blah, you need to find stuff that helps you to continue to be mentally stimulated to where that you're feeling motivated and feeling encouraged and wanting to see the next day, because this is where we really get into those depressive thoughts and feeling hopeless and not seeing the benefit of anything. So it's not good ever to be stagnant and isolated. So those are things that are very important, especially speaking on the Mental Health Awareness Month, being able to reach out. And even if you don't have people, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't really have a lot of people. So when you have lack of support, to find those avenues of where you can get the support you need so that you know, you're not in a situation where you're desperate and have nobody. So
well, that's really where that, like, I have no one isolated feeling comes from. My friend's going through a divorce, and she texted me the other day, and she's like, I don't think I can keep doing this. Because her husband ended up moving like to Florida when she filed and left her just with everything. And I was like, well, what tells you have to keep doing everything today? Like, even allowing yourself to say like that, reach out to someone, because you'd be surprised what you think is not normal, or like, I'm so weird. Like, no, it's like totally normal to give yourself a break, or it's totally normal just to be like, you shouldn't have to sustain that all week. Or I heard it best when I used to ride the Peloton. I don't have one anymore. Cool bike if you have time for it, but I was completely neglecting it, so I got rid of it. But one of the instructors says, so back to your isolation thing, you have to give energy to get it. So like, once you get rolling, you ever start cleaning your house, you're like, I don't want to clean my house. Then you get started, you put a couple things away, and you're like, I'll put a couple more things away. And all of a sudden that roll happens, right? It's like going down a hill. Like
and
you
then
said,
my ADHD kicks in, and I put 2 things away in the living room, and then as I'm
Then you're in
walking
the
to the
bathroom.
kitchen, I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta put this in the that's me.
But again, once you
So
get
it's done.
when you get moving, you actually get moving. So don't stay isolated. Don't stay in those thoughts, because the more you feed that negative thought, essentially it's self-talk. Like, if I talk to Emily the way I talk to myself, her husband would punch me in the face. Like, you think about that. Like, if I said the things that I say about myself, and you say it so routinely, you start to believe it. Especially so if you're isolated and you have no one to tell you the contrary, you're gonna sit here and believe these things that aren't even like reasonable to believe about yourself. So back to that.
It's important. So self-care, the importance of self-care. So like recreational, all the other pillars are kind of self-explanatory. You got to make sure that you're taking time to enjoy life. Don't work all the time. If you died today, your job will replace you tomorrow. Make sure that you're taking your PTO days. Make sure you're taking time to do things that you enjoy, whether that's sitting on the porch reading a book or horseback riding or whatever you want to do.
Horses freak me out.
I love horses.
Ooh, they freak me out.
One time.
There was that ADD. Sorry, guys.
At Double R Ranch in Belding, Michigan. I think that's where it is. I was riding while I was going on a horse trail ride, and they put me on this horse. I want to say his name was Buddy. Buddy was cool. It was a big ass horse. And the person who was doing the trail came by, and Buddy didn't like him because Buddy snorted and stomped his feet, and I'm like, oh boy, here I go.
I'm gonna get bucked off this horse.
And the guy slapped him on the butt. And so anyway, that was my horseback riding story.
Did he take off?
No.
Thankfully.
He tried to kick his horse because the guy was on a horse. So he tried to kick him. And I was like, is
That's
it
a good
okay
time
if I go ahead of the pack And he was like, "Are you comfortable with riding?" I'm like, "I am today."
Better than next to this guy.
So we ended up taking off. But yeah, don't ever slap a horse on the butt. I was probably like 14, 13.
Dude, I just went to Mark Stouter's horse show the other day,
Mhm.
and I swear those horseback people are tiny,
You're tiny.
and they freaking manhandle those suckers. And I'm like, I'm not tiny, and I'm like, no one touch me. Don't even look at me. But yeah, so do something like, and also, you know what? I have found I've lost all interest in hobbies.
Mhm.
I used to love mixed martial arts. I used to love reading. I want to tell you something I love to do.
Mhm.
It's like what do you call those things? Like guilty pleasures.
Mhm.
I love like trashy novels. It's such a weird thing to like. I think because it's like an easy read and it's like there's no brain power to it, you know?
This is trashy.
It's just trashy. Like it's like gossip magazines, you know what I mean? Like you're just like
ooh,
we were into
she did
she gonna get it, you know? Or so anyways, like I haven't done that in like forever, you know? So just even like simple things like that. Not saying go out and get a trashy book. That's not for everybody.
If you find a good one, let her know which one it is.
Wait, man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and then environmental. I just want to touch base on this, and I could be wrong with the pillar they're talking about, but I'm going to talk about the Emily pillar.
The environmental as it according to Emily.
So, what I want to say is, as we grow in life, and as we evolve and change and go in different directions, we can outgrow situations
and people
and
within that
people.
situation,
and we can outgrow our environments.
Mhm.
So don't be afraid of that. If something's becoming uncomfortable, I feel like in a way it's God's way of telling us it's time for change.
right?
So if you're starting to realize, oh, you know what, I don't really dig what she's doing, even though we were friends for this, I don't agree with how she manages her situation, her life, and we're just not on the same page. Mm-hmm. It's okay to let those go because there's a reason why you're going on to a different level, a different routine, a different path. And sometimes when you want to hang on to that just for the sake of it being something you're familiar with, I mean, I'm not talking about just people, I'm talking about situations, I'm talking about anything, jobs, it can hold you back from where you're actually supposed to be.
Right.
And I feel like that I really experienced that personally when I was back home. I used to live in Grand Rapids. I was kind of stuck. I was a nurse technician. I was stuck in this job and I was okay, but I was stressed. I was a single mom. I was dealing with all these things. And I didn't really see a future out of that. I just did it. I just worked every day. I went to school every day. I took the kids to what they needed to do. And then it was like repeat.
It's just survival mode.
Yeah. And so then when I finally was like, okay, I'm ready for a change. Mm-hmm. I feel like I want more. Mm-hmm. I want more than what I got. And more being like the success, more being a future for my kids to see that we're not stuck in this cycle. When I came out of that space and my mentality changed and I realized that's a good thing for growth, everything started to excel.
Right.
Everything is just like the ceiling got taken off. And now it's like my vision changed, my aspirations changed, my goals changed. And here I am, like just every time, like succeeding. And I'm not saying
your boundaries got better, right? Like all those things started improving.
Exactly. And I'm not saying like it's not hard. I'm not saying that this is just going to happen for everybody. And I'm also not saying that I'm so successful and it's going to keep going. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But what I'm saying is when you change your mentality and you start to outgrow your environment, don't be upset. Just think of it as an opportunity. So one time you went to, was it Cabela's? Or who had the fish tanks? Talk about the fish tanks.
Isn't that Cabela's?
I don't know where it is. Some hunting outdoor store.
Yeah, we're clearly not outdoorsy people. But I was somewhere and they had those fish tanks and they completely outgrown them when I told you that. So I told them that story.
No, you tell them. You tell it better. She was talking about how they were stuck in a tank and they just kept running. What were they?
They're literally they're running into the glass or running into each other. They just look confused. They look completely out of place too. And so I have found in business and in life, I have found myself feeling like this giant fish in this tank I no longer belong in, but I don't know how to change the water. I don't know how to get out, and you're in the wrong place. So actually, if you went around the corner, it actually opened up much bigger, but this one fish just kept going into this spot and like bumping. And I'm like, he doesn't even realize if he goes around the corner, it opens up a ton. So sometimes you're so pigeonholed in what has to be. this is me, and you know this is me. It's got to be this way because I started this, and I'm gonna do it this way because I'm determined, and I am the queen. Mark's always like, you said you would never. I'm gonna stop doing that because I will make a decision. I'm like, and then I'll find myself so challenged, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna do that but you get so pigeonholed, and so you think like this is my only option, and you exhaust yourself, you wear yourself out, and eventually and end up injuring yourself, and you don't even realize like that change in direction is so small sometimes. Sometimes that pivot is so small. Like had that fish just turned around, let it get opened up on the other side.
Mhm.
You didn't even see it. You didn't even see it, but it was so focused on that. So when you do outgrow your space, I have found people think you're treating them poorly because you put those boundaries up, or this never used to bother you. Like I hear that happen a lot in relationships, or you're really testy. But it's like when you stop allowing certain things to happen and you move on, those relationships are going to want to bring you back because if they are not going with you, they want to keep you there. That's like your work, your job. Like they try to make you feel guilty for leaving.
Yeah.
You know, friends, they make you feel guilty. Like, how could you move on without me? We used to be such good friends. Who I don't even know you anymore. And the truth is, they don't.
Yeah, you don't know who you become because it's not even at the same chapter anymore.
Right.
It's a whole different book.
So realistically, if you haven't seen somebody in a year or more, the chances are you don't know who they are anymore. So like when some people applied for cleaning some of Mark's condos, and I was like, man, I went to high school with her, but I don't know her. I mean, that's so long ago. She could be this totally amazing person. She could be, you know, a totally different person. Like from what I know, this is what I knew. And it's so funny because we either outgrow that space or we become buried in it. And we're not people who want to get buried there, even though we can get real pigeonholed. By we, I mean me.
I used to.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah. But again, it's just learning to make those tiny pivots and small changes. But I agree with that.
Right.
I think that was probably what they mean by environment. Or even just like the literal, like
your environment.
Your literal
if you're
environment.
Living in the hood and people are literally like, I work downtown Detroit and I don't anymore. I resigned. But when I did, I can't tell you how many children came in, gunshot wound to the head.
Jeez.
Because they live in a bad neighborhood or their parents are selling dope and they became part of the target to get back. And so when you start to see, okay, my environment is not healthy. My environment is not safe. I don't understand. It's very difficult for me to be understanding of people who will remain in that and not fight for a way out. I do understand not having the financial access. I do understand that, but for me personally, I would find a way.
That's a limiting belief about them, that this is the lot they've been given or we've been given, and this is what I have. And I used to think that like in my second marriage, like this is what I did this to myself, and I believed that for a long time. There was no way out because I chose to believe something that wasn't true. But also, literally the amount of toxins in your environment, guys, like we're actually starting to reduce the amount of plastic that we drink from. Like that's a real thing. Like like the one doctor, she was like, it would like blow your mind. Like how many fibroids in people's uteruses have plastic inside them?
Yeah.
Your literal appendix has plastic, sand, debris inside of it. So like
utensils, cooking utensils, you should use wood.
Yeah. Or stainless steel. And like, how do you feel when you go to Arizona every single time?
Great.
Every single time she goes to Arizona, it's like her allergies dissipate. You know, the energy comes in. Like my sister went to Utah one time. She was like, I am free. You know? So it's like we live in a very toxic part of Michigan. We really do. I mean, we're the industrial part of Michigan.
There's actually a zip code in Detroit that I don't know the details, so I'm not going to quote it, but the incidences of asthma is substantially higher than across the United States. And it's a poverty condition environment. And it's basically all of the urban population that we would serve as the Children's Hospital of Detroit for the children. So then you have these kids coming in and asthma exacerbation constantly, and it's because they're stuck in their environment and they're exposed to all of those toxins and carcinogens and everything else from those industrial plants. And so it's very sad that and that's how it works, of course. And people who can't afford to get out of that area are kind of stuck there, and now you're facing these health adversities. So,
but that's where adding where you can nutritional food back in, and you can't fix it all at once. No one's even considering that you can, but being conscious that you have these different, what do we say, 7 pillars, potentially 8 if we throw in nutrition as its own. You have a lot of different ways you can slowly start making a plan for yourself
Mm-hmm.
to create better boundaries, space for peace,
Mhm.
stop with the ding, the padlocks. We are literally trained animals
Mm-hmm.
to the devices. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane.
There's actually studies that show it's an addiction. It
Oh.
is an addiction.
Oh, because of the dopamine response when you like literally that's
The
how many
likes.
likes?
Yeah.
How's my interaction? Like Isaiah. Oh, I'm gonna talk about my family and my son. How many views I got on my video on YouTube? It's because he plays those games and he records it. And like I can already see as a child, like he wants to know how many views he has.
Mhm.
And if we start it so young now, I don't blame any parent who does it, but I've gotten off YouTube because of it. It's sickening
Mm-hmm.
to watch how addicted your kid is, or to watch them respond to you taking a device away. Like,
They're
you, like
upset and
yeah, like they like you cut their foot off. Like, give me my foot back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of sick. So we won't keep running you too long, but this is something that is huge for us
Mm-hmm.
because we experience it firsthand. And second, I feel like this is going to help us stay accountable to it too.
Yeah, we have to start doing that. So,
because this is a marathon. Like, life is a marathon.
Go.
Yeah. And so if you don't slow down, you're going to exhaust yourself.
Mhm.
Like, because we have a habit of just going in this
Mhm.
like sometimes the list that I send you that I'm going to get done in a day is ridiculous. Like, I know I'm finishing all that in one day, but
it's
somehow
worth a shot.
it's worth a shot. But I'm like, why did I think I was going to do all of that in one day?
It's like when you fill your plate full of food and then you only eat a portion of it. It's
Mhm.
like, I do the same thing. I'm like, I said I was going to rewrite my lash manual like 3 weeks ago. I haven't even looked at this shit. I can't. I just can't. Now I have a bunch of puppies. But anyway.
Yeah.
But these self-care, if you're addressing the 7 pillars and you're making sure that you're putting yourself first, then you're going to reduce your anxiety and depression. You're going to reduce your stress. You're going to increase your resilience. You're going to improve your happiness all around.
Mhm.
You're going to have increased energy, which is going to be huge because then you're going to feel better. You're going to reduce your burnout or the chance of being burnt out so you don't sit on the floor in Menards. And then you're also going to have stronger interpersonal relationships because if you're feeling good and having energy and you're not burnt out and you can actually function at a good level, you'll be able to help support those around you and be there for them, including your kids, your loved ones, your boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. All that is so important because I can tell you firsthand, when I'm burnt out, I'm not a nice person.
Mm-mm. No, I'm not agreeing with you. I mean, like, for me, I'm crabby.
I'm tired. I'm irritated. Marlon's trying to kiss me before when I'm at home, and I'm like, and it's not.
Please.
I'm tired. I'm like, he's like, what'd you do today? I'm like, lashes and facials and this, but I'm tired.
But that's that nervous system on that end where it's like, I can't. It's like when mothers are new and it's like, you know, baby's on you and everyone's on you, and then your spouse comes to touch you and you're like, why are you touching me? I just need to try not to die. Yeah. But anyways, go ahead.
Our next, go ahead, because I'm going to go into our giveaway. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, if you want to make a commitment, like, drop it in the comments. We'd love to know what you're committing to improving, even if it's just one thing. Like, I'm going to start drinking more water.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to start putting my phone away for off, maybe for an hour a day.
That's good.
That's a good start because you guys need appointments and stuff. But I'm gonna go grab our product we're gonna give away this month.
Ooh, I'm so excited. I feel like I got this stage all to myself. I should do something that Emily's. Oh, she coming back too quick. Never mind. I said I got the stage myself. I'm gonna do something while Emily's away.
I'll go away.
No, I was kidding. I didn't really have anything. I was like, I wonder what Emily would yell at me for normally.
All right, guys. So our product for it's going to be our May giveaway, but we'll announce it the first Thursday toast in June. Is going to be our MD Pen Broad Spectrum SPF 30.
Which I love.
Yes, this stuff is actually really good. I love this stuff. So the thing about this is not a physical barrier. So when I say physical barrier, what I mean is when you go and you get regular sunscreen from the store, Coppertone or whatever, is white and kind of cakey. This one's not. It's a chemical barrier, so it has chemicals in it that are safe for your skin and everything. What I love about MD Pen is it's all like natural, organic stuff. But it's a chemical barrier. It's very clean. It's creamy. It's nice. It goes under makeup really nicely, like a nice base to build on. But it blocks free radicals. It also induces collagen, so it helps to give you some of your fullness back into your skin and reduce lines and wrinkles while protecting you while you're out and about. But one thing I do want to touch on too is obviously we want to protect our skin to reduce the chance of fine lines and wrinkles, but we also need vitamin D.
Yes. And what is the best way to absorb vitamin D?
The sun. So we don't want to block it, guys. So not the whole time. So if you have a moment before you put your sunblock on, go out and sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and let the sun do what it's supposed to do.
You know, people think I have like some of the best skin they've ever seen, and it blows their mind. I don't wear sunscreen at all.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I do? I get my IVs. I
Mhm.
get a ton of vitamin intake. I take Cataplex F, which is just a really good like liver cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've actually heard like metabolizing vitamin T happens in the liver, and we're so congested
Mm-hmm.
in our livers. And we're just gonna start a whole new topic, so I won't do it quickly. So again, like back to that, like some of the best ways to take vitamin D in is through the skin. And I mean, there are people who cake their kids. Even like I don't cake my kids.
We need it. We do
We
need
do.
it. And it's contrary to popular belief. Everybody, all these med spas out here are going to be like, oh, you need to sunblock your skin. No, it's very important that you absorb it because that's how it's going to convert and it turns into your calcium and everything that you need for your bones and just your optimal function. So definitely get your 10 to 15 minutes a day and then put this on. You can use it under your makeup. You can use it as just a moisturizer, but it's very, very nice product. I love it. And we're going to give one away in June.
Yeah, and we'll get the link out later on. I'm going to be honest, it's going to be tomorrow.
That's fine.
We'll get it tomorrow.
Might be next week. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think I can get that out pretty quick. So, but I want people to start doing that. But it's a perfect. We're leading in. The sun's coming out. Go enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy to share this topic with you. And then we will be back next week.
Next week.
All right. See you guys then.
See you guys.
I gotta do 2 buttons. Why can't you?